everyone, and welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, a podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I am your host, Nathan Ragland, and for this week's episode, I want to highlight an artist and I want to highlight a podcast that is also doing a fantastic job not only highlighting artists in their own field, but highlighting a culture that definitely needs to be heard more from. Today's guest is Adnan Ssenkumba, the creator and producer of Ugandan Art Speaks Out, an educating and informative podcast showcasing the best and brightest artists Uganda has to offer. This podcast was one that came across my radar when I was just looking for art podcasts, and me ever being the curious one, wanted to divulge and hear these incredible stories. And the more I listened to them, the more I was inspired and decided to reach out to Adnan to see if we can get a conversation going. I'm so glad that he took the time to sit down to chat with me about this incredible podcast, the incredible opportunity that he is providing, not just for himself, but for a ton of people in this community. And I feel like it's going to be a fantastic podcast that you guys definitely are going to love. If you enjoy our guest, please, I recommend you support him with the links down in the description below. Listen to the podcast, Ugandan Art Speaks Out. Spread the word wherever you can. Seriously, he's doing wonders right now, and any chance that we can to really spread the word would be greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. You know I see that stuff, and you know it genuinely warms my heart. Speaking of subscribing, if you go to the YouTube channel, if you are not subscribed already, I would love for you guys to subscribe because we are currently on a goal to see if we can get 2,500 subscribers by the end of 2024. If we hit that goal, then I will be getting a tattoo that is selected by the community, designed and selected by the community. So if you guys want to see me tatted up for the first time with something potentially silly that you guys decide on, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe today. And while you're at it, if you want to look fantastic as well, may I recommend you check out the merch shop at fourthwall.com. We already have a wide selection of amazing merch there that you would look fantastic in today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. Alright, Adnan, before we really get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may. Let's say you get to go to a desert island on your own accords. It is just you, alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, get to really enjoy yourself for a little bit. With accommodations, you're not stranded on a desert island. It's like you have the amenities, it's the comforts or whatnot. It's a little personal paradise away from society for a little bit. To make sure you don't go completely insane on this island, you can bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help with whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this possibility, what would that one piece be?
That would be my recorder.
Your recorder, okay. Is there any particular reason why that's why is that the piece that you want to bring with you?
Because with my recorder, I can change the world.
You can change the world. Okay, I like that mentality. Yeah. I love that mentality. I mean, now, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you talking about like the musical instrument, the recorder, or like the instrument they use to like record your podcast?
The recorder, the audio recorder that I use to record my podcast.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Interesting. So like, considering the fact that this is like your own little personal paradise away from society or whatnot, are you just going to use the recorder to just like record your own thoughts and just like talk things out or whatnot, or?
Yeah.
Perfect.
That is what I would do.
I love that mentality. I love it. But regardless, the recorder, that is your answer. You are locking that in.
Yeah.
Then if that's the case, I cannot think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. You would look fantastic in the merch that we have at the merch shop. Go to fourthwall.com. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. He is the creator and producer of Ugandan Art Speaks Out, an educating and informative podcast showcasing the best and brightest artists Uganda has to offer. Welcome to the podcast, Adnan Ssenkumba. Please.
I don't know if that is what you usually do, but we have that hule thing that we do here.
Oh.
So when you're introduced, you.
That's how I usually like. It's usually like how I like to introduce my guests to the podcast, because I feel like they're doing fantastic stuff, and I want to give them the proper introduction. For my audience at home.
Thank you so much for that introduction.
It is my pleasure more than anything else. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic now that I'm genuinely getting a chance to sit down and chat with you. Your podcast, like I mentioned, Ugandan Art Speaks Out, is a podcast that I think I just stumbled upon in my my Spotify feed when I was looking for just art podcasts to listen to. But I have been really amazed with the quality conversations that you've been able to present, the incredible guests that you're bringing on, and kind of opening my eyes to a culture that I never would have even really thought about otherwise. And I cannot wait to dig into all that and then some. But before we talk about the stuff you guys are doing nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit and learn more or less the origin story of Adnan. What got you personally interested in the arts in the first place?
Okay, I studied drama at university.
Okay.
So while when I finished my course, I have been in the industry like for 13 years.
Oh wow.
But what is shocking is that when you start digging deeper to look for information about our artists in Uganda, you will find no information. Even the places like National Theatre, places like the German Culture Center, people we don't have a lot of information about them.
Right.
So last year I started creating conversations with artists.
Right.
Ugandan artists. So I in the beginning it was just a joke. We were in the car, we started the conversation.
Oh wow.
And then a friend of mine said, that this can become a podcast. Then I posted it. And then I started seeing responses from all over the world. So I was like, okay, this thing might work.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about archiving artists, because we have seen so many great artists go leaving us, like dying.
Yeah.
And there's no documentation. And when people come and start asking about these artists, they are like, there was a guy here, he was doing this and this, and that is all. There's no documentation, there's nothing.
Okay.
So I started documenting, and what is surprising is that the Uganda National Culture Center just reached me, and then they wanted us to collaborate to start recording legendary artists of Uganda. So that is what we are set to do right now. And then there's an organization called ITI, International Theatre Institute. They have been supporting us, giving us people to interview.
Okay.
They started getting, they got interested. For them, they found us on YouTube, so they got interested, and they started following us, and then they started recommending people that we could interview, and that is all that has been happening.
That's insane to hear, like the development, especially hearing the origin of the podcast itself. Start off as just like, you and a friend just jokingly having a conversation. Like
Yeah.
that's a cool, like, fun little place to start. I did want to go back just a little bit. I want to go back to those drama days that you kind of teased about a little
Mm.
bit. What got you interested in wanting to be a part of drama in the first place? Like, why did you want to be an actor? Was there a particular actor or just a particular performance or play that got you interested in drama?
Okay, my journey is quite interesting.
Okay.
I started acting when I was very young. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was put. Okay, in Uganda we have these choir stuff when the ones you do when you are young at
Mm-hmm.
school. So I used to want to be at the front of the choir
Okay.
while singing. But when I was young, like very young in junior school, I was always pushed at the back, and yet I wanted to
Oh.
be in the front. So I never wanted to be at the back. So I used to cry, and then they put me back in the front.
God, you are such a
so
drama queen.
so when I started like that, then when I went to secondary school, I think that's like I don't know how they call it in the US,
Mm-hmm.
but when I got to secondary school, that is like maybe college. I
Okay.
started. I was the leader of our school choir,
Okay.
and then drama club. Then when there's another level, advanced level. When I go to advanced level, I started winning awards as a drama actor.
Oh, that's awesome to
Yeah,
hear.
so at school. So when I decided to go for university, uh, my parents wanted me to be a teacher,
Okay.
but I told them I can't be a teacher. I want to do drama.
You want to
So
do drama? Nice.
I did drama when I got to university. So while at the university, I started acting for TV. So I got into a very popular television drama in Uganda.
Okay.
It was called Trickstars.
Drink stars.
So
Okay. Oh, Trick Stars. Gotcha.
Trickstars. So I did that for like 2 years. Then I started seeing that there was a gap in like technical. So
Mm-hmm.
in 2010, I decided to start doing technical work,
Okay.
that is camera and sound. So I started teaching myself how to record, how to work with microphones, how to do all these things. So I graduated and I became one of the greatest sound engineers in the country.
That is
So
awesome to hear.
yeah, so I've been doing that for the past 13 years as an audio engineer. So when we were in the car, it was so easy for me to do this. So, and when I started researching about podcasting,
Mm-hmm.
I saw that everyone was doing it in a studio. So, me, I have the knowledge to do it outside anywhere. So, my podcast is mobile. It's I find you wherever you are, we have a conversation, it ends. But of recent, we have started planning to do videos, but very high quality videos. So
Oh.
the next time you will see our podcast will be on YouTube, and it will be very high quality videos with different artists. So you will put the face to the voices that you've been hearing.
Good, good. Because that's one of the things that
Yeah.
that's one of the things I've certainly always been curious about when I listen into your podcast. I, I will say real quickly when it comes to like your acting history and your technical history, whatnot, I'm impressed to I'm it's incredible to hear kind of the journey you kind of went on, going from like wanting to have that love for, being in front of the crowd and wanting to perform, to realizing the gap when it comes to audio and just kind of taking that up and really just running with it and doing a fantastic job leading you to where you are. That's once again, it's incredible to hear the story just as a whole. Like, I can only imagine, even just think about this early part, you have to be amazed with yourself with how far you've been able to come along, both as an artist, as an audio engineer, and as someone that's trying to do something incredible with the community. You must be amazed with how far you've been able to come along.
Yeah, I haven't told you the other part that we do. Like, the organization that supports the podcast is called Omti Creative. So how
Okay.
it came into existence
Mm-hmm.
is that we had there was a time in Uganda where there was a lot of human sacrifice,
Right.
and they used to kill children for sacrifice for riches. So me and my partner is in German right now, is called William Otako. So me and him, we started a campaign called End Child Trafficking,
Okay.
because sacrifice is part of trafficking. So we started it unknowingly that it will become a very big campaign for the country.
Mm-hmm.
The Ministry of Internal Affairs got on board, and we started going on to border districts of Uganda, because this is where most trafficking happens, between Kenya, Uganda, between Rwanda and Uganda, Congo and Uganda,
Mm-hmm.
that side of West Nile, Uganda and Congo in the north, then South Sudan, Uganda. So we did all those border points,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't do it without an organization.
Right.
So we decided to form an organization called Omuti. And Omuti means a tree.
Okay.
So how did we think about this? It was, we thought about like, I have met whoever I've met, and I have taught most of those people whatever I know, because I am a mentor right now.
Right.
So I mentor all these people. So it's like I'm a tree that is giving out fruits. So that is why we call ourselves Omoti. So uh, Omoti has been in existence for like around 5 years,
Wow.
and we have been doing community work. So we have a center for
Okay.
artists who do not have a place where they can express themselves. So we have a collection of artists,
Mm-hmm.
different artists, dancers, musicians, um, theater actors, filmmakers, and nowadays we have TikTokers, we have YouTubers who sit at who use our space,
Mm-hmm.
because we have a space that we've provided for artists who do not have a space. Oh,
That's great to hear. Regardless, like, just right off the bat, just like
yeah.
none of you guys are providing a space like this while also doing some incredible work to end, child trafficking, human trafficking. Like, that's really touching at the end of the day.
Yeah, so one of our goals now, the podcast integrated itself into the into our goals.
Right.
So like this year we decided to make it a Ugandan thing,
Mm-hmm.
so that every artist, the very first episode that we did were artists that we know,
Right.
but the current episodes that we have, like the one last week and the one this week, these poets that we are interviewing, we didn't know them. They were recommendation by another organization, a poetry movement
Mm-hmm.
that is called Kitara Nation, that said, you know what, you need to document our poets. So we have a collection of like 10 poets who are going to be showcased.
Good.
We showcase like it's kind of their profile, and what they have been doing is so amazing. It's I didn't know that poetry is such a powerful tool of change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like hearing you talking about like what you've been able to accomplish, like just with this center alone, but also with the podcast and such, like you talking about like the different kinds of artists that you're bringing in, it totally makes sense because especially whenever I've been listening in on the podcast, you know, hearing you talk about different poets, actors, comedians, like I said, highlighting these incredible artists that are trying to express themselves as best they can in a place that, you know, like for me, I'm lucky enough to where I get the opportunity to hear out some of these voices that I don't think I get a chance to hear about otherwise, and that's something that I truly love with what you guys are doing. Really getting the chance to once again not only just open my eyes to these artists, but open my eyes to your guys' culture. Like, is that something you more or less noticed the more that the podcast has been able to come along? Just how wide of a reach you guys have been able to have with this?
Yeah, we have I don't but it is so amazing and challenging right now that whenever I listen back to what we have done before,
Mm-hmm.
it gives me a lot of challenge to bring more unique people, because even the accomplished artists in Uganda have been asking me, where do you really get these people from? Because we didn't know that these people really existed. So,
Right.
and I think this shows you that there is a lot of undocumented artists in
Mm-hmm.
Uganda, and the world needs to know about them.
They really
That is
do.
all I can say. Yeah,
I mean,
that is
that's
all I can say.
I, no, honestly, that's very valid. I mean, especially with the artists you have been able to showcase with the podcast or whatnot. Look, as someone that gets asked by several other people, like, how did you get this person? How'd you get that person? Like, I know where you're coming from with that. Just like even people that you look up and you admire or like have done several successful things, they're asking you, how'd you get this artist on or how'd you get that artist on or whatnot? When I imagine at the end of the day for you, it's the same place it is for me. I just simply asked if they
Mm,
wanted to be on the podcast, and they said yes.
yeah. Yeah, usually it's not easy for us to explain to people that you're going to be on a podcast, because even the art of podcasting is not yet that big in Uganda.
Right.
So whatever they'll be asking you, what are these podcasts?
Mm-hmm.
How do you gain out of them? For instance, for us, we don't have adverts, we don't have sponsors, we have nothing.
Right.
We are currently doing it for the passion of art, and uh, the reason is we document all these people, and you never know, universities might need to research about these people. Students are taught about certain artists who are doing art.
Mm-hmm.
Like students, there are times when I'm mentoring students of the university, and they want to do research on certain places and they don't have any information.
Right.
So that's why we come out to create this information, thinking that it will help so many other people around the world, researchers, people who would want to invest in the art,
Mm-hmm.
in the Ugandan art business. So that is where we are coming from.
I mean, again, it's absolutely amazing, especially the wealth of different artists that people may not have known about otherwise. Like, I'm curious for you because you've interviewed a lot of artists and you've had a lot of artists come through your cultural center and such. Is there a particular artist or a particular guest that even you were surprised you were able to get and have a conversation with on the podcast?
The particular artist that I'm surprised to get on the podcast
Mm-hmm.
is currently actually is the one calling us, like, why don't you come and we do this? I have a lot of information. I don't I don't want I want the world to listen to this. And he is one of the greatest theater practitioners in Uganda. He
Ooh.
so we got a contact. I contacted him a few days ago, and he was like, why don't we start doing it today? Like,
Oh.
why don't we do it today? So, and I wasn't ready. I don't want us to interview him, to, to interview him in the very way other people have interviewed him before.
Right.
We want to make this episode a very special episode. So I will not reveal his name because he might listen to this, you know.
No, honestly, that's extremely valid. And I know what it's like
Yeah,
to have that one guest that you just want to talk all about, but you also want to leave it a surprise
yeah,
because you want, like, more than
yeah.
anything else, you want your audience to be surprised, especially those that know the artist, and just be like, wow, you were able to get a conversation with
Mm,
them. That's insane.
mm,
Um, I, I guess, like, the more I listen to Ugandan Art Speaks Out, like, the more I can make connections to it when it comes to what I'm doing with this podcast in a way. Although for me, I'm just taking, like, a broad look at just people that present themselves online on the internet. You're not only
yeah.
presenting incredible artists, but you're also presenting an incredible culture that, once again, people might not have considered otherwise, or might not really have thought much of otherwise. Like, how important was it for you not only to present these artists, but to present the Ugandan culture to the world?
Um, there are so many things that I've been looking at, and they've been like hurting me as
Mm-hmm.
an artist. So I sat down and started saying, okay, now even we have variety of food, we have variety of clothes, we have variety like music, we have dance, we have so many things that the world has never seen, that the world has never had. So I was like, I what can I do to change this? So it has been like a journey for me.
I can imagine.
Doing this podcast is this podcast has changed the way I perceive art in Uganda, and the way it is, there's scanty information about special arts. Like in a few days, I had an interview with uh, a traveling artist.
Mm-hmm.
She has traveled all over Europe. She has traveled. Uh, she has been in Europe. She has been in all over Africa. But she's one person who
Right.
is not celebrated here in Uganda, and she is celebrated out of Uganda. And she has been archiving special music, music from indigenous Ugandan cultures.
Okay.
Yeah, so such things, it there are things that I can't even explain how we have been able to make connection to our culture, how we have been able to make connection to very special artists. It, like the coming episodes will be very, very interesting. Like those coming episodes are very interesting. They are very inspiring also,
Good.
because these things, even me myself, I didn't know some of the, like, for instance, we interviewed uh, people who are organizing a festival called Power Rhythms.
Okay.
So Power Rhythms is a festival that has been in existence since 2011. And I was just enjoying the music. I used to go there whenever the festival is on. I go watch this festival, but I didn't know that these people were behind the unique sounding artists of Uganda.
Okay.
Most of the unique sounding artists of Uganda have been through this festival, have come through this initiative of mentoring people with special indigenous sound that will uh, be be on wild stages, because they can sing in our language,
Mm-hmm.
but still the music talks to everyone. So I didn't know that Parism has been an influence
Mm-hmm.
to all these people who are doing what we call like Afrofusion.
Okay.
It's like African instruments and Western instruments, and then they sing in a local dialect. So I didn't know that, but I got to know about this in an interview that I did. So if you think about it, it's like even me myself, I'm getting educated
Right.
about Ugandan art. So it's it's so amazing that we are doing this, and I think the sky is the limit.
Absolutely, especially with what you guys are talking about and the stories
Yeah.
that you're bringing up and the artists that again people may not have even known or even considered in the first place. It, if people are genuinely curious and like they want to know when to jump in, or if there's a particular interview that you want people to listen in on that's already out right now, is there a interview or an episode that you would recommend general people to like listen to this episode? This should give you a general idea of what to expect when it comes to the podcast.
Wow. I have so many
I can imagine
so
there's
many
a
episodes
lot
that
of episodes you guys have put out there, so there's a lot to consider.
because if you are not a musician, you are either a poet. If you are not a poet, you are either a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not a filmmaker, you are either an actor. So it it is difficult, or an emerging artist. It is difficult to recommend, but I think there is an episode that we did with Tebere Arts,
Okay.
where she's talking about, it was Deborah Asimwe. She
Mm-hmm.
was talking about the Tebere Foundation,
Okay.
and this foundation is dealing with emerging artists, emerging theater artists, and also community theater. So the episode also shows how the Uganda Uganda there's there's an organization that um, I'm forgetting the name,
No, you're good. You're good.
but there's a way the government wanted to stop this festival midway their preparations. Like the festival was happening on Wednesday,
Okay.
and then they they stopped them on Monday.
Oh
They said
wow.
they want them to produce everything. They um wanted them to produce copyright certificates of international artists. You can imagine international artists. Some
Mm.
of the international artists even pulled out. So that's one of the episodes that I feel like everyone could listen to. It was so amazing. Even another episode is of a young man called Andrea Bavuma,
Okay.
who is telling us his journey, the way he started doing his music. the way he lives from the ghetto, the way he gets his first guitar. It was so inspiring. Actually, that is one of the most inspiring stories that I've had of this young man who wants to be a musician. He doesn't have money, and his whatever gig he does
Mm-hmm.
is what he uses to uh, advance in his music.
Right. No,
Yeah,
that
those are,
that
those are
does
the
sound like a.
two.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Those are the two episodes that stand out for me.
That's absolutely incredible, and I definitely got to go back and find those episodes more than anything else because I definitely kept up with a good bit of the episodes, but there's some I definitely need to go back and listen to. I'm also genuinely curious because I know you kind of started this off with you and a buddy or whatnot. Does that mean that there's an episode of yourself highlighting your sort of art journey as a whole? Like, is that episode out there?
Yeah, I do. I was found on set.
Mm-hmm.
I was recording on set. Then our host got me out of set, and then she came and interviewed me. And I think that one was it's special in the way because it's
Is
it's like
oh sorry, go on.
I have something happening. So uh, in my episode, I think even someone calls me, and then I have to go back on set.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
okay.
and all that was recorded. Yes.
That's incredible to hear. Kind of that little behind the scenes thing. That also leads me to another quick question. Is there a particular like the I'm not disregarding you because I think you're a fantastic person to chat with or whatnot. But is there a particular reason why you have a host being the person that's hosting the podcast instead of yourself being the host?
Okay. Right now, I might be one of the generals of the industry,
Mm-hmm.
like those big look up, like people look up to you.
Okay.
So I usually want to give chance to other people, like
Okay.
to yeah. So there's no reason as to why I should shine alone. I don't see a reason as to why I don't light another candle if yeah, because I'm a candle that is burning out anytime. So there's no reason for me not to burn another candle, to light another candle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I was just genuinely curious because, like, based on our conversation alone, I feel like you're a great interviewer. I was just genuinely curious, but hearing that it's not just, it's more or less to give another person an opportunity to really, let their flame, shine bright at the end of the day. I think
Yeah.
that's really wholesome. That's really generous of you to have that in consideration. I mean, even just with what we've been talking about, it also leads me to another quick question. I know this started out as, again, you and your friend recording in a car or whatnot, or, in general. Is there a particular reason why you thought podcast was the way to go to illustrate the arts? Because obviously, people would argue that with arts being a very visual medium for a lot of people, video would probably be the ideal place. I know because I've been asked this question before, but I'm wondering for you, is there a particular reason why podcast was the route that you went with and that you stuck with when presenting these artists?
Yeah. First of all, I am an audio engineer.
Right.
So at first, I started thinking about, okay, if I do this thing, it will showcase my engineering skill
Right.
that I can record audio anywhere. So that was the first thing. And then the next thing was I I have access to all this equipment. I have a very big sound recorder
Mm-hmm.
for field recording. I have lapel mics, body mics. I have all sorts of these microphones that I've gathered uh, during my 13 year of work. So I felt like, okay, sometimes I don't have a job to do. Why don't
Okay.
I just go and record? So it was easy for me that to do sound. But as we have progressed, there is a lot more demand for video.
Mm-hmm.
So people are asking me, why don't we see these people? Why don't we? So I decided that
Okay.
also. thinking about video. So, but in the beginning, it was all about I have the skill, I can do it anywhere. I can record, I can do mobile stuff. So let me do it that way.
Right. In the beginning, it
Yeah.
was more or less the convenience that you had because you had the equipment, and it's the field of art that
Yeah.
you are the most comfortable with. So it's like a way for you to showcase that while also showcasing these incredible artists. Which,
Yeah.
if I must say, very smart way to go forth and look at this thing. But I know that people, I can only imagine how excited people must be to finally see some of the videos and finally see some of the artists if they've not gone out of their way to look up these artists on their own. Um,
Yeah.
I can only imagine how much of a
Oh,
new challenge it is for you to get video like ready to go.
yeah. So when you go on our channel, like OMT Creative channel, YouTube channel, we
Mm-hmm.
have started releasing shorts for some of these episodes, that the upcoming episodes, so that if people are looking for the full episode, they will only click on these these shorts, and then they will take them to the full episodes in future. So we have started putting some like teasers,
Okay.
we could say teasers of shorts, and I think they will be so, we are shooting them in a very different way.
Okay.
Excited, actually, we are so excited for these videos.
Good. Good. I can only imagine the excitement at the end of the day, more or less. Like thinking back, well, thinking about like what you guys have been able to accomplish so far, the artists you've been able to highlight, and the ones that could be coming soon. Like at least be curious, what are you hoping for when it comes to the future of Ugandan Art Speaks Out? What are you hoping for the future of this podcast and for this program?
Our hope and future plan is that we become one of Uganda's biggest artist archive. So that is what we are looking up for in future. That is all we want to see.
I mean, it's a good thing to aspire for. It's a good thing to try to achieve, especially with the leaps and bounds, the work that you guys have already been able to accomplish so far, especially with not just the podcast, but with the creative center and such. I mean, even thinking all the way back to you being an artist yourself, whether it be the drama kid that was crying to be in the front row, or the choir kid crying to be in the front row, or being one of the most revered technical audio technicians in the country of Uganda, I should say. Just thinking back to your art journey as a whole, are you more or less amazed with how far you personally have been able to develop as an artist?
Yes, sometimes it is amazing. Uh, it amuses me
Okay.
sometimes. And at times, when people start calling you those big names and give you titles, uh, sometimes it's overwhelming. At times, you don't want to attend certain functions because you know that you will find people who are going to be you will talk for the whole day, like a father to all these people, like an uncle to all these people. So,
Okay.
and uh, of recent, most of the people that I have trained call me uncle. So
That I think
yeah,
that's gotta be the most rewarding thing more than anything else. Like just the fact that people consider you an
yeah,
uncle. That's sweet. That's
yeah,
wholesome.
yeah. So most of them call me uncle. So
Well, there you
I'm
go.
an uncle to the industry.
That's genuinely sweet. Um,
Yeah.
well, how
Mhm.
about for this next question, if I may? I want to give you
Well,
Adnan, sorry. I want to give you more or less the dream scenario, if I may. let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. I come up to him like, look, we know what you've been able to accomplish. Like, we've seen the work that you have in drama, we've seen the work that you had with audio, and we've seen the work that you've done just in general. We know you could do so much more. We just want to give you that little extra push, a little extra platform to get you to that place. We have access to everyone and anyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than there should be possible. We probably should be giving it back to the community, try to help them out, really help them grow. We'll focus on them in a little bit. Right now, we're focusing on you and you alone. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Adnan Ssenkumba project? Or Adnan. Oh, I guess I said
Uh,
that. Adnan.
yeah, yeah. Our my dream project would be to first of all build our center, because right now we are renting.
Oh,
So
okay.
build our center and have a very big theater facility at the center,
Okay.
because that is one of the things that we are lacking. We only have one national theater,
Oh, wow.
and uh, a lot goes around the national theater. There is a lot of overbookings, triple bookings. So they are not only double bookings. Now they are like triple, four times booking.
Mm-hmm.
So like people are like fighting for one small space.
Right.
So if I get that, if we are to dream that I get that money, I would invest it in building another, like something close to the National Theatre. That is what I dream of. Yeah,
That's
and create a bigger archive at this center.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly a really admirable thing to want to achieve at the end of the day. Just have a permanent place and create more space for the arts in Uganda to grow. It's a perfect thing to want at the end of the day, at least in my opinion. But sadly, we gotta get down from the dream scenario. We gotta get back to reality, and I'll ask the ever so generic question:
Yes.
Where do you hope to see yourself in, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
5 to 10 years from now, um, I just wish we could grow bigger,
Okay.
like all our channels, like get more downloads on our podcast,
Okay.
uh, get more views on YouTube, because I think uh, each download, each person who listens to us is like cash to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you are investing time in our podcast, listening to us. So each one who listens is like cash. You never know who is listening. So we, I think in 10 years, I wish to see all these channels growing. I wish to see um at least getting getting monetization um out of all these platforms.
Right.
Will, yeah, so that we can, because if we are monetized, if we get money out of whatever content we put out, it is going it's going back to community. Because for me, I have been working for community with my own income,
Mm-hmm.
with my own income. Even whatever I do right now, even the shootings that I do, even the recordings that I do,
Right.
I fuel my car with my own money. I use my own equipment. I don't even mind about the wear and tear of my equipment. Everything that I've done, even the center, I rent it. We rent it together with my partner in Germany with our own money. There's no funding whatsoever.
Oh,
So
wow.
all these if all these initiatives that we've started get monetized, it will change the lives of Ugandan artists, first of all, most especially those who are aspiring to be artists in Uganda, like the community that we are working with in Reza. These guys struggle. We see them every day. They
Mm-hmm.
struggle that sometimes they don't even have food. And we have gone an extra step to see that there is at least a meal, one meal
Mm-hmm.
for those artists who sit at the center and do their work because they don't even have uh, food to eat when they go back home.
Right.
Their children, like during COVID, our center used to feed the village.
Right.
Yeah, so and this has not stopped. Like we we still find ways of feeding because we hope to do bigger things if we are monetized.
Right.
And most of the work that we've been doing is community based.
Right.
Even though we are not, we are just a social enterprise. So whatever money we get, we put back in our community. We want to see a vibrant community in Uganda, and it hurts me so much to see an artist on a border, like on a bike, yet they are very famous. They are on TV. Um, it hurts me so much. So
Right.
we still fight so hard, at least to get monetized so that we can put back that money into the community, into our communities, yeah,
Absolutely.
to
I mean,
change the lives of.
I'm sorry. No, I thought I was interrupting you. No. Um, no, I was gonna say, especially the groundwork that you guys have really accomplished and started so far, um, both with the center and like you said with the preventing the human trafficking when you can or when I think you're making leaps and bounds already to help out the community, and I can only imagine 5 to 10 years of all you want to be able to accomplish is to help that community more and more. That's a wonderful thing to achieve for, and I sincerely hope from the bottom of my heart you guys get that opportunity to do so. Um,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
as we start to wind down the interview, I just have one last question I want to ask you. Obviously, you're deeply entrenched in art in so many forms and fashion at this point, really trying to cultivate it and really help it grow. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
Um, First of all, art is is a sense of identity.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's our culture. Like I think to the world, it identifies us. Art identifies us. Like the music, the dance, the drama, the fashion, clothes, like food. All these they identify us. They show the world who we are. So that is how important I think art is to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's some of these things I can't even explain.
Right.
I I feel like I feel big for art. Like the feeling that I have for all the arts is unexplainable. I can't really explain some of these things. Yeah,
I
I see like art is it, it's a tool. I see art as a tool. I see it as a sense of identity. I see it as a culture.
yes.
Yeah, so many things. Yeah,
I
yeah,
honestly that is a wonderful way to word it, if I do say so myself. Um,
yeah.
Adnan, that is all. That is all the questions I have for you. I've already showered you with a whole bunch of praise, but I want to shower you with a little bit more because it's my podcast. I do what I want. Um, no, but in all seriousness, like I said, ever since I first became aware of the podcast, Ugandan Art Speaks Out, I've been intrigued and I've been really invested because I am a person that always wants to seek out more about art. I want to know about the incredible artists behind it. I want to know their inspiration and their goals, and especially introducing me to a culture that, like I said before, I probably would not have thought much of otherwise. It really has opened my eyes and given me a new love and appreciation just in general. Getting the chance to sit down with you, hearing your story, where you come from, the roots you have with art, and the general love and passion that you have, not just for this culture but for this community, and really wanting to go out of your way to really showcase that and to really support it as best you can, is something that I can't help but admire and applaud as much as possible. You're doing a fantastic job and you're doing fantastic work out there. And that's why I'm more than willing to show that love and support wherever I can. I'm more than willing to listen to more of these episodes and get introduced to these artists. If there's any other way I can help, I'd love to help, because seriously,
Thank you.
what you're doing is absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to see how much further you guys can go with this. The long and the short of
Yeah,
it is, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for caring so much about this community and caring so much about these incredible people, and really wanting to let the world know about how incredible of a culture you guys have. Keep up the incredible work, because I'm going to be rooting for you guys every single step of the way.
thank you so much. And we promise not to deviate from
Good.
whatever we are doing. We are going to grow stronger. I'm very excited for the our next big project, because we have got very interesting interviews and very interesting people to showcase in the next episode. So
Good. Good.
I
Can
hope the whole world could listen to this.
Good. Can I make a recommendation for you for a potential artist or a group of artists that I would love to hear a conversation from at some point in the future?
Yes, please. You can.
Have you heard of a thing called soft ground wrestling?
Soft ground lesson. No.
No, it's understandable. It is a small kind of, so for context, I'm a fan of like professional wrestling, WWE, John Cena, The Rock, all that kind of stuff. Which
Yes.
for me, I consider more or less like physical theater, like physical soap opera, with the way
Yes.
that they present that stuff. There is a group somewhere in Uganda, I can't remember the exact name, to where it is an adult that's actually given like orphan children the opportunity to like play out these fun scenarios and like have fun in what is not a traditional wrestling ring. It's called soft ground wrestling. It's gotten the attention of a lot of
Yeah.
people in the wrestling world, to where like, people from promotions in America came all the way to Uganda to like have fun and wrestle as part of the trip or whatnot. Cody Rhodes, the current WWE champion, has promised to like buy a wrestling ring for these guys to actually like properly wrestle in, instead of the dirt that they have been, the dirt and mud that they've been wrestling in or whatnot. It's a really cool and inspirational story, and like I said, it was created to give orphan kids what would otherwise, not have an opportunity. Who knows what they would be doing otherwise. It gives them an opportunity to do something and to have fun and to keep them out of trouble, more or less, at the end of the day. I Knowing how you guys, introduce certain artists and such, I would love, if the opportunity is able to arise, for you to get in touch with them and kind of learn a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff, like what exactly inspired this, what's the planning like to telling some of these stories, and what are they hoping to accomplish in the future.
Tomorrow is Monday. I'm going to get onto that immediately.
Good. I cannot wait for that, because if nothing else, like I said, I've always been a fan of wrestling, and I've always thought wrestling is art. And I mean, this is, a Ugandan-based promotion, Uganda Arts. Let them speak out. That's all I'm
Huh?
saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is all we want. Let
Good.
every form of art speak out.
Good. Now, if people want to
Yeah.
know more about these incredible artists and know more about this stuff, go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home. Where can people find more about Ugandan Art Speak Out?
So our podcast is all over, like all the directories, the major directories that distribute podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
That's Apple Podcast. We have Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
We have uh, right now Google Podcast is off. Now we are on YouTube.
Good.
Uh, we are also on, I think, Antenna Pod. I have seen our episodes on Antenna Pod. I have seen everywhere, like Amazon.
Good.
I've seen like, yeah, it's distributed all over those platforms. So wherever you want to listen from, you can listen to Ugandan Art Speaks Out. And we are I'm urging you to watch out because we are bringing new episodes, and these episodes are going to blow your mind away. I can give you like a teaser.
Ooh.
One of the episodes that we did had a gentleman who has worked at the National Theatre for over 40 years. The
Wow.
Uganda Theatre for over 40 years. He has stayed as long as the government of Uganda has stayed in power. So you can imagine he has seen all the seven directors of the National Theatre,
Oh my
apart from
god.
only two directors that he never worked with. The one who uh, who became the director after the British gave the theatre to Ugandans after independence,
Okay.
and then the second one was the director who was there during Amini's regime. But from then up to now, he has been there. So watch out for that interview. It's coming and it's going to be so amazing. He
I,
has a very unique way of telling stories.
I am already
Yeah.
excited to hear and see that episode more than anything else. And if you missed any links,
Yeah.
I got you covered. I'll have them in the description below so that people can make sure that they find more about this stuff and see this incredible stuff. Um,
All right. Thank you so much for hosting us.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank you for loving us. Thank you for listening to us.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a very huge pleasure that I saw this in my DM
Yep.
on Twitter, and I was like, oh my God, people are really listening. So I was so excited for this interview, and
Good.
you don't know what you have done for us. You have, as I told you, every listener is like, uh, it's like a dollar to us. So
Well,
you,
I'm hoping to send a lot more dollars your way because you guys absolutely deserve it with the work you've been doing. So,
yeah, yeah. We value a lot whoever is listening.
well, if that's the case,
Yeah,
then
I
you get
just don't know how. I just don't know how to tell them, but we value each one of you who is listening, who is loving us. We really look forward to give you the best Uganda has.
I hope you were able to present that and then some more because I think you guys are doing fantastic work and there's I can only imagine how much more work there is to come. Uh,
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. With that, all I have left to say is for the people at home, if you can, pay your artists.
Tell me what's wrong, tell me it's parts in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can all open. Show me it all, put me up in the car, you drove when you used to call. Show me it all.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I greatly do appreciate it. Like I said in the intro, just what Adnan is doing with Ugandan Art Speaks Out, and especially after this conversation that we've had, I was more than happy to really give Adnan the opportunity to really talk about this stuff. And Adnan, sincerely, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I praised you in the interview, and I will praise you again whenever I say that the work that you are doing is absolutely phenomenal and necessary in this world. And I appreciate you taking the time to do the legwork to really make this opportunity that you're providing for others. Like, thank you for giving people that platform to amplify that. It's something that I try to do with this podcast. I feel like I'm doing a decent job at it, but I also feel like I don't have that much of a global scope just yet. I mean, to be fair, with the amount of artists that there are all across the world, and especially when you have stuff like language barriers and connection barriers and all sorts of different aspects of it, you know, there's only so much that I can do to raise the voices of artists all around the world. That's why I'm more than happy to promote when other artists go out of their way, when other people go out of their way to amplify those voices in one way or another. That's why whenever I found Ugandan Art Speaks Out, I was more than happy to amplify that as best as I can. And I genuinely mean it, guys. Like, if you have not taken the opportunity to go through and listen to just a single episode, it's really amazing, and it really opens your eyes, just kind of the global scope that arts have on the world. I mean, if my memory serves right, at this point, I feel like I have interviewed at least an artist from every single continent aside from Antarctica for obvious reasons. But yeah, I only feel like I've scratched the surface when it comes to just the incredible artists that are out there and the incredible like voices that could be amplified, that should deserve that platform to talk about the incredible art that they have dedicated themselves to making. I mean, there's only so much I can do, but you better believe that I'm going to do everything in my power to amplify any and all voices possible. And you guys deserve to hear those voices. There are so many artists out there that are doing everything they can to really get their message across, to really let the world know how they feel, really translate their emotions, their feelings, their passion onto any sort of medium that deserves to be heard more than anything else. And you guys deserve to hear that immensely. And I sincerely hope that whether it's with this podcast, Ugandan Art Speaks Out, or any sort of podcast or talk show that amplifies the voices of artists that are dedicating everything they can to this field, I sincerely hope that you support them. You support this podcast, and you support every single one of those people, both the people that are amplifying the voices and the voices they're trying to amplify. In a world such as this, in a mentality, how should I word this? With how important of a medium that art can be to each and every single one of these people, myself included, it should not be suppressed. It should not be held back. It should not be buried. It should be brought up. It should be amplified, and people should know everything that these artists are doing. And I sincerely hope, again, like I said, whether it's with this podcast, Ugandan Art Speaks Out, or any other podcast talk show that amplifies these voices, I hope that you're right there bringing up this community together and amplifying those voices immensely. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful one.